I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. I'm Justin Davis, and this is my shop right here. I do a lot of drone builds, but I also work with 3D printers, and I'm going to give you from a new person's perspective of working with 3D printers. We're going to give you my experience of the Anet E10 right here. I have the instruction manual, I have all the stuff laid out on the bench right here, and I've already printed all of our samples, and I also paired it up against my favorite printer sitting over there, the Creality CR-10. It has a huge following on the internet. There's a huge Facebook group and a lot of forums based on the CR-10, and this seems to be kind of a clone of the CR-10. I wouldn't really call it a clone because it's lacking a lot of the same features that the CR-10 is just rock solid over there. So how did the prints fare next to the CR-10, and how did this one hold up? I think that's the biggest question a lot of people have. You probably already watched a lot of other reviews out there, but this one is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to show you some honest parts of this that held up and some that didn't. So this was a video that I worked on and made over the course of a week's time working with the E10, and we're going to show you how it fared, and you can decide for yourself whether this one's right for you or not. So you wouldn't know it on the website, but the E10 is actually quite a bit smaller than the CR10. The bed on the E10 is actually 220 by 270 by 300 millimeters, and the Creality CR10 is 300 by 300 by 400 millimeters in size. So the E10's already leveled out and it's ready to go. We're going to print out our first print. So the bed is heating up and now it's started. We're going to print out the Fox, and it's kind of a low poly style Fox. It's pretty cool because it does have a lot of different facets and edges to it. So you should see quite a variation of different print surfaces on this. And I'm also doing kind of a low infill, doing like 20% infill, so it should print a little quicker. So both of the printers are now going, and this is the CR10 over here on the right, looking pretty good. Now this is the print back on the E10, and looking pretty solid. There's a little bit of hairs there in between, and this is the CR10 again. There's little hairs hanging off the ears on this one as well, but both these prints turned out pretty decent. There's a little bit of banding on the back. There's some flakes there. But let's see, let's check it up a little closer. See a little bit of hair on top of the ear, but not a bad print for the first one. I do see some banding on the E10 on the back of the Fox, and the CR10 might be a little bit better print. You can see from the very top there we have some flat spots. There's quite a bit of banding on the flat spots as well. Check out the back side, but the CR10 does seem to be a little bit better. This is the other color of the CR10. I printed two different colors just to try. So we have two different types of filament, the bronze and the gold filament for both of those. But not too bad. The CR10 seems to be a little bit better there. Now you can see all four of my test prints. The E10 prints are on the left, and then the CR10 is next on the right. So we're going to go ahead and switch over. We're going to do a print of a calibration block, and we'll see how both of these printers handle that. Starting off with the E10, everything looks good, no problems laying down the first layer. Looks like a little bit of loss there with the bed, but having a problem switching out the filament on this printer too, because I can't seem to get the filament to pull out of the E10 because there seems to be some kind of blockage inside the nozzle, and it won't let the filament come out. Now I'm all done with the CR10 there, and just take a little closer look at this. The CR10 does a nice quality print. I've got the bottom bed off of there. I just labeled both of these so you guys can see the difference between the two. And there's very little difference between both of these prints, and you can tell which one this is the CR10 and the E10 here, mainly because I had that other filament left over from the Fox stuck in there, and I had to trim the cable off to actually put in the new filament, start to print, and this is what we ended up with. So kind of a bummer that I couldn't get the filament out. So it's kind of an issue on some of my prints. Now on the left you can see that E10Z right there. You can see a little bit of holes around the Z itself. You can see kind of some banding, and on the right the CR-10 has way less banding on it, so a lot more solid fill. Just get a little bit closer here so you can see that. You see the holes below and above the Z. I'll show you the Y. And the Y looks okay. The left looks a little bit rough on the Y. Just a little bit of hairs in there. And there's the Z side again. It's pretty flat, but there is some substantial banding on both of the calibration blocks along the edges. So not perfect, but pretty good. So now I had some issues with the E10. It's very, very loose, I noticed after that last print, and this piece slid back and started hitting that. So I don't know if that had something to do with it, but there's bolts behind the head that were rubbing on both of these two pieces. So I had to remove them, which is kind of a bummer. And for this to move freely, I had to take those completely off. Now here I opened it up and you see this little screw right here. This other bolt was sliding down and making the whole nozzle get off center. So this hole is too big right here for this bolt, and it was sliding down. So I had to put another bolt underneath it to hold it up, which is kind of crazy. And the design of the wheel is actually over, the bottom wheel's far on the left-hand side, which is kind of weird. Normally the wheel on the bottom is in the center. On the CR-10 it is. So we're gonna go big here. We're gonna print a large print on this for our last final print for this review. We're gonna print the low poly unicorn. It also has a lot of different surfaces on it. So we'll see after I dialed this thing in the best I could after having those kind of issues. I'm not totally sure how this is going to end up printing, but so far the horse tail, the unicorn tail looks pretty good there, and it's printing all three pieces at the same time. There is some stringing in between pieces, and that might be me. With the CR-10 I had a problem. My first print I forgot to put supports in there. Pretty amateur mistake on something like the unicorn. So I added in my supports, and CR-10 is just rocking along here, doing pretty good. There's another angle right here, top of the unicorn, and this is about 30% infill on this one. But everything looks really, really good so far for the CR-10 on this print. No problems. And I didn't do any bed leveling on the CR-10 for this print, so there's the unicorn's all done there. Not a whole lot of stringing in between the ears. And this piece came out pretty good. This is a much smaller piece than the rest of it. Not bad at all. And the tail looks pretty solid as well. So you can see there's a little bit of banding on the top of the horse where there's that flat spot right there, and I got that on both the E10 and the CR-10. So, you know, it's neither one of them are perfect, and they do some pretty decent prints. There's another flat spot right there where you can see a little bit of banding. It's just a tiny bit of stringing in between the ears. But this came out pretty good, I think. All the different surfaces on here look to be pretty solid, except for that top piece. And the same thing on the E10 print. I get a little banding on the top of the horse where it's a flat spot, and the nozzle had some issues there. Just a tiny bit of stringing, but you know, the E10 print turned out pretty good. So I have to say I'm impressed that it was able to do this good of a quality print even after I had some issues and I had to reset some things and put a screw in to hold that nozzle from sliding down. And that got worse over the course of those two prints that I did initially. So if you get one of the E10s, make sure you check it out. But both of these, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between both of these unicorns and some of the samples. But having some of the issues with the E10, kind of a turn-off for me. I guess I would say that the CR-10 is probably superior, as everyone says. You know, it is definitely going to be producing some superior prints. But the biggest thing is reliability, guys. You want to have something that's going to be reliable. You can see some more banding underneath there. So the CR-10 is not totally perfect, but then again, I am a new person 3D printing, and I would definitely admit that. You can see some 3D printed parts here on the E10 that I'm not super excited about. And we have some down here on the bottom as well in the back. I don't know how those are going to hold up for the long run. So that might be something to consider. Also, this belt on this one seems to be plastic and not rubber like on the CR-10, so that was kind of weird. Also, there's no glass bed on the E10 like there is on the CR-10. I do like the fact that the CR-10 has a nice glass bed, and I can take this top surface off if I want to and print directly on the glass with some glue stick. And I can't do that on the E10, so that's kind of disappointing. But I also had another issue where the filament cap popped off, and I had to trim back the Bowden tube a little bit, and it still wouldn't work because it was pinching and getting stuck in there. And another issue I looked at was there's a little bit of metal flakes here around this gear drive right here. I'm not sure what that's all about, but that's probably not good for the long run either. So, So there we are, guys. We're at the end of the video now, and I'm just going to give you a few final comments on this Anet E10. My experiences were that it started out great. I had it dialed in the first few prints. I barely had to adjust the bed. I did one adjustment to the bed, and it did really well. And I printed 3 or 4 things, and then things started to go downhill really quickly, where the Bowden cable popped out, and I had an issue with the collar inside for where the nozzle is, and that was a problem, and I had a hard time getting it back in there and getting it fixed. I'll probably have to order a new part for that, which is not so great. I don't really want to be ordering new parts the first week that I have a printer. That's kind of a disappointment, because with the CR-10 so far, it's been sitting there for over a month, and it just keeps printing and keeps printing. Small prints, big prints, whatever you want to print off my CR-10 seems to be reliable. And I've had to level that bed a few times after big prints, but very rarely do I have issues with my CR-10. So my recommendation is probably to go for the CR-10, just to be honest with you, for this review, so that you can get the best out of your money when you put down your first dollars for a 3D printer, especially if you're first getting into it. You want to pick the right printer, and I'm not totally sure that the Anet E10 is going to be the right printer for the job. If you're already savvy with 3D printers and you know how to fix a 3D printer after it has an issue or something fails, or you know how to do those upgrades that this E10 might need, maybe you can just do all the upgrades and this printer would be fine for you. But otherwise, new people, I would probably suggest to stick to the CR-10 or stay away from this one, because it is going to give you, it's going to pose some problems. So you want to avoid problems in your first go around with 3D printing, because it might be a turnoff if something breaks after the first couple days, and that would be a total bummer, because after all, you waited for this to come from China for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month, and you finally get it, and so you don't want any letdowns. But that's about the end of this review. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Please do subscribe on the channel, because I will definitely be honest with you guys about these products that are coming out. And I hope to do more 3D printer reviews right here on the channel. And I'll keep you guys up to date, and up to date on what's new and what's coming out next. So thanks again for watching. I'm Justin Davis. I'll see you on the next one.